With the NFL draft right around the corner, it is time to start ranking positional groups again on the channel. And today we are going to start with quarterback, the leader of the NFL team, the most important position in football. And while this is not the most loaded quarterback class ever, I do think there are plenty of guys with high upside that are worth draft picks for these NFL teams. In this video, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 quarterbacks that I would personally draft in a ranking order. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to break it down by tiers just so you guys get a little bit more of an idea as to the groupings that I view these guys in. Let's hop into the video. My number 1 ranked quarterback should come as no surprise, as it is Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. Mendoza clearly has the physical profile to be a success at the NFL level. 6'5", 230 pounds. It is clearly an NFL ready body. And when you look at his college stats last year, he was solid at Indiana. 3,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, and a very impressive 72% completion percentage. He also, of course, led Indiana to a national championship, so you know that he has the ability to win at a high level, at least the highest level that he has played at. But will that translate to the NFL? Will Mendoza be an NFL stud quarterback? And if so, why would that be the case? When I was breaking down Fernando Mendoza, I looked at a couple of strengths and there were some weaknesses. But the first strength that jumped off to me was that this guy is actually sneaky mobile. Going into the tape, I heard all the Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco type comparisons, even some Andrew Luck sprinkled in there. And yeah, Andrew Luck was a little bit mobile, but I would say that Fernando Mendoza is more mobile than any of these guys. Yes, we all know the historic run that he had in the national championship game versus Miami, but Mendoza had some wheels on him throughout the season. He was able to create outside the pocket. He was able to throw down the field, but he was also able to pick up some key first downs with his legs. He is really, really good, and I thought that it showed a lot in the UCLA game for those of you that remember, and if not, I suggest you check out the film on that game because Mendoza's wheels were on full display. Now, we also know that Mendoza has a good arm talent, right? One of the most accurate quarterbacks in this draft class. That is reflective in the 72% completion percentage, but it's also reflective on the tape. This is a guy who can hike the ball, stand in a clean pocket, and get the ball to his receiver. And while that sounds like, yeah, that's the job with the quarterback, that's easy, this is a guy who can consistently do that. And some of the quarterbacks that we're going to talk about later, their biggest problems are their inconsistencies in their ability to do so. I think Mendoza can do so at all 3 levels. He has solid touch on its deep balls, very accurate, and can create outside of the pocket and continue to make these throws. The couple questions I have around Mendoza, which you can call them weaknesses, but they're more so concerns, is one, he did this in a very RPO heavy style offense at Indiana with some really talented pieces around him. Will he be able to translate to the NFL? We know that the Raiders are going to take this guy. They were actually the worst team in football last year. Now, Clint Kubiak's coming in. You have pieces like Bowers and Genty. You brought in a Jalen Naylor. You could bring in more wide receivers. I'm not saying the team has no talent whatsoever. But at Indiana, you clearly had one of the better rosters in football around you. In the NFL, you're going to one of the worst teams. Can you flip the script and can you be the difference maker for that team? That is a question I have with Mendoza. Or is he more of a game manager and a guy that would benefit from high-end talent around him, similar to a Jared Goff, which it's no shade at Jared Goff. But if you put Goff on the Raiders, I don't think that they're a playoff team for a long time, unless they start getting the right pieces around him. Could Mendoza be in that same boat? This is a guy who could steer a ship that is a really nice ship, but he's not leading a team to the promised land that he has to elevate. He is not a talent elevator. That is something I question, and I didn't think he had the best pocket navigation. I thought he did get a little bit of happy feet and was willing to get rid of the ball a little quickly, and I wonder how that translates to the NFL, especially against stronger pass rushes when the Raiders' offensive line is kind of a question mark. But when it comes to how high I could see his ceiling going, I mean, I think Mendoza could be a top 10 quarterback in the sport. We know he has the size, he has mobility, which is almost a necessity at this point in the game. Super strong arm, seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, an accurate quarterback. It's just about some of the questions that were left unanswered because of the success of Indiana as a program that we were never going to know, but we don't know now. Anyway, I think Mendoza is pretty clear the best quarterback in this draft. At number 2, I have Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson's physical profile could have some concern at the NFL level. He is 6'1", 211 pounds, so a little bit on the smaller side. Nothing too crazy, nothing that you got to worry about it like a Kyler Murray, Bryce Young-esque level, but as well, obviously not the build that we just talked about with Mendoza. In his collegiate stats last season, he had 3,500 passing yards, 28 passing touchdowns to 5 picks, and a 64.5% completion percentage. Not the best overall there, but I think that there are some real strengths with Ty Simpson that are worth highlighting and could make him a very valuable NFL starter. The first being, of course, is really good play creation. You know, when it comes to navigating the pocket, moving around, getting throws off, or just scrambling to pick up a first down, I don't think there's anybody better in this draft class at play creation with their legs than Ty Simpson at the quarterback position. There's no doubt in my mind that the mobility is there. He as well has an ability to scramble and keep his eyes down the field. It's not necessarily just, oh, my first read isn't there, time to tuck it and run. It can be the pocket is collapsing, let me try and move and create while still keeping my eyes down the field. And oh yeah, there's Ryan Williams down the field, let me hit that pass, which I do think is really crucial for his ability to have success at the NFL level. You have to be able to keep your eyes down the field as a quarterback, because that is where the big chunk plays happen. When the play falls apart, you're running for your life, and all of a sudden coverage is busted and you got a wide open wide receiver down the field. Some quarterbacks completely miss that. I don't think that Ty Simpson is one of the guys who will do so. I think he's got a strong, solid arm. I wish he was a little bit more accurate. 64.5% completion percentage isn't great. He has the ability to make any throw in any given window. We saw that, especially in the first half of last college football season, but he doesn't have the ability, or at least didn't show the ability, to consistently do that last year. When it comes to my concerns, he's just inexperienced, man. He didn't finish off last season strong, and that's all we got to go off of. He's headed to the draft after 1 year as a starter, and I get it. The opportunity's there to be the second quarterback taken in this draft class and go get your money. But when it comes to how much draft capital I'm willing to invest in this guy, maybe I trade my second round pick to get back up into the back end of the first round. But if I'm the Jets at pick 2, the Cardinals at pick 3, it's just not even crossing my mind to take this guy and take such a risk when there are much stronger options that could better help my football team, that I know what I'm getting. In terms of ceiling, I do think that Ty Simpson one day could be a top 12-ish quarterback in the NFL. Do I think he could go and win a playoff game? Absolutely. And with what we've seen in terms of who's been winning Super Bowls lately, Sam Darnold and Jalen Hurts, I think that a top 12-ish guy could go get a Super Bowl one day. I'm not saying I'm predicting Ty Simpson to go win a Super Bowl, but do I think that that's out of the realm of possibility? No, I do not. I believe the pieces are there. It's just about getting to the right system and the right guy that can help him put it there more consistently. But Ty Simpson, to me, is the clear number 2 in this quarterback draft class. In the third spot, a guy that I was actually more impressed with than I thought that I was going to be going back on the film, that is Carson Beck out of Miami. Physical profile shows great NFL size, 6'5", 233 pounds. He is built for the league. And when you looked at his stats last year, they jump off the page. 3,800 passing yards, 30 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and a 72.4 completion percentage. Carson Beck absolutely put on a show at Miami, and he's been putting on a show at the collegiate level for years now. Tons of experience at Georgia and this year at Miami. There are some strengths to his game that I think actually could make him a viable starter as early as next NFL season. When it comes to his strengths, we have to start with the deep ball. I felt like watching these Miami highlights and these Miami plays that the man was out here running Madden. It was just, F it, Tony down there somewhere, F it, a receiver's down there somewhere. And this man had some pinpoint accuracy. For all the deep shots that he took, he still finished the year with a 72% completion percentage. That is super, super, super impressive. A very accurate guy, a solid deep ball, a polished player as well. I do think he has an ability to get through his progressions, and all of the experience he has at the collegiate level, he still is just 23 years old. You know, he's not the oldest. We talked about a guy like Tyler Shuck who came in the league 26, 27 years old. Carson Beck is still just 23 years old. I don't think that that's a crazy age to be when you get drafted, but it just feels like we've been watching him play at the college level forever, because we kind of have, but because he started really young. When it comes to his concerns, yes, Carson Beck is willing to put the ball in harm's way. He will throw an interception. We saw it in the national championship at the end. he's willing to take that shot, even if it means getting picked off. And in the NFL, I mean, really just in football in general, turnovers are the death of your team. But especially at the NFL level, you cannot afford to be loose with the football. He's really not super mobile. He can kind of get active a little bit around the red zone, but he's not a guy that you really want to be scrambling on 3rd and 8 and making a play for your team. It's kind of be more of a pocket passing situation. And in today's NFL, I just feel like maybe more of an athlete at the quarterback position is starting to be needed. And there were some people that had concerns with his arm strength post UCL injury. Personally, I didn't see it. I thought the zip was still on the ball. I thought you could throw it deep, but there were enough chatter about it that I figured I'd throw it out there. I do believe that Carson Beck's ceiling is being a starter at the NFL level, and I think it's almost more likely than not that he eventually gets a starting opportunity. Quinn Ewers was starting last year for the Miami Dolphins, and I think Carson Beck is better than him. Now, the guys that I have ranked behind Beck, while their ceilings may be a little bit higher, I don't think it's necessarily the odds are that they're eventually a starter at the NFL level that I do think is the case for Carson Beck. Coming in at 4 on my list, I have Drew Aller. And Drew Aller is another guy from this draft class that has the absolute physical profile of a starting quarterback. 6'5", 228 pounds. It is just, again, great NFL size. Last year, he only played 5 games for Penn State. In those 5 games, he had 1,100 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a 64.8 completion percentage. Drew Aller is 100% a project quarterback. If you are bringing this guy in, it is to develop him based off his physical traits and his athleticism. He is not a polished player at all. We just talked about Carson Beck, where you're getting him, he's polished, he's probably as good as he's going to be. He can maybe improve his game a little bit at the NFL level, but you know what you're going to get, and he could start right away. Drew Aller is going to be drafted to be a backup quarterback that develops. However, there are some serious strengths to his game that I think, if developed properly, can make him not just a starting level quarterback, but one of the better quarterbacks in football if he reaches his full potential. When it comes to his strengths, he has excellent zip on his passes, man. There is some real speed behind that ball. He could fit it in tight windows. He just has to get a little bit more consistent with reading those defenses and his accuracy, but he can make any throw. The arm talent is there. He could throw the hell out of any deep ball. He showed that at Penn State in the short sample size he had this year. He is willing to throw jump balls to his receivers and take risks down the field, but he's also has the ability to get the ball down there to his guys. The arm strength is there. He's also super mobile for his size. When I was watching his game, and it's great value version, dollar store version, I'm not saying he's gonna be this guy, but it reminded me just a little bit of Josh Allen. And you see what happens in Buffalo if you get Josh Allen to that full potential. And that's why I have Drew Aller at 4 on my list. Not because I think he's actually the 4th best quarterback in this draft class if I needed to win a game tomorrow, but when it comes to my rankings, I am taking upside and potential, especially after the first 3 guys in this draft class, because you don't know what else is there. But in terms of who has the highest ceiling of the remaining quarterbacks, to me, there's no doubt it is Drew Aller. There are some concerns. I mentioned it. Inconsistency in reading defenses. Not a lot of great plays under pressure. You gotta be able to handle a pocket collapsing around you, and you have to be able to read defenses at the NFL level. Those are 2 major things, and they are things he has to work on, no doubt about it. And I also have some concerns about him being a winning player. Now, the Penn State football team has kind of just been a mess for years, so I don't know if it's fair to put the blame on Drew Aller, but he came in as this highly touted prospect. Penn State was ranked number 2 in the country to open up the year, and they were just bad. And Drew Aller is the quarterback, and at the NFL level, I put a lot of the winning to the feet of the quarterback, whether for good or for bad, so it feels a little unfair to do the same thing collegiately, but I know it's a different game, and NIL and coaching matters a hell of a lot more, but just something to take into note there. But again, in his ceiling, in a perfect world, if Drew Aller reached his full potential, I do think he has top 5 upside. I think it's a slim chance he gets there, but late day 2, day 3 pick, yeah, I'm taking that shot on Drew Aller, especially to be a backup. I mean, if you're the Rams, right, you already got Stafford. let this dude sit for a year and just see what he could turn out to be. And then lastly, in a similar vein, my number 5 ranked quarterback in this draft class is Taylon Green out of Arkansas. Yes, I understand that Garrett Nussmeier didn't make this list. I just don't think the ceiling's as high as some of these other guys, and the inconsistencies weren't there. But we'll talk about him in the tier ranking spot. Taylon Green. The physical profile is the best of any quarterback in this draft class. 6'4", 224 pounds with a 4.36 speed at the quarterback position. He is just no doubt about it, a freak athlete. His stats last year at Arkansas, 2,700 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks, just a 60.7 completion percentage, but he had 778 rushing yards to 8 rushing touchdowns. Yes, Taylon Green is absolutely a project, and he is a similar project to Anthony Richardson, where, shoot, man, do I know if it'll ever work out? No, I don't. But Taylon Green's costing you a day 3 pick. Anthony Richardson costed you a top 5 pick. In terms of value, I am willing to take the shot on Taylon Green and just see what I get. Hell, at the worst, you could certainly run some quarterback run packages for him, and maybe, shit, at 6'6" with 4.3 speed, you could convert this man to tight end if it really didn't work out. My point being, you get dynamic freak athletes the ball, and Taylon Green is a dynamic freak athlete, but there are some upsides for him at the quarterback position. Again, like I mentioned, you're drafting him number 1 overall for the elite athletic traits, so we know that. But I do think when he got in rhythm last year, we actually saw a pretty solid passer. Obviously, the mobility is there in his game as well. You can depend on him to rush and scramble for a first down. The weaknesses, not the best passer out of the pocket. So when the play collapses and he's running to the outside, you don't really want him to throw the ball. We talked about Ty Simpson earlier. He keeps his eyes up and can get the ball down the field. Taylon Green isn't quite the level of passer out of the pocket that Ty Simpson is. Yes, he's still good mobility-wise, and at 6'6" with 4.36 speed, could he run you over? Yeah, not a super accurate quarterback, right? 61% completion percentage isn't great, especially at the collegiate level. He's pretty inconsistent and struggles with pressure. There are a lot of weaknesses to his game. I'm not denying that. But in a weaker quarterback draft class, I am willing to take a shot on day 3 on potential. And Taylon Green absolutely has potential. Theoretically, the sky is the limit here. If you could get his game polished as possible, and if you could get him to his full potential, he is a game-breaking-esque player. We talk about Carson Beck, I think at his best, is a game manager. Taylon Green at his best is a game changer. Taylon Green at his best is Cam Newton-esque. Again, at his best. Do I think he reaches that potential? Would I bet on it? Probably not. But is he worth a day 3 gamble? You better bet your ass. And then to wrap it up, just to tier rank these guys, that way you kind of understand fully where my head is at. Tier 1 by himself is Fernando Mendoza. He is the obvious star of this draft class. He is going to be a successful NFL quarterback who makes a contract number 2. I don't have a doubt about that. In the second tier, I have Ty Simpson and Carson Beck. I think that they're different types of players, but they land in the same tier for me. If your team was ready to win now, I would understand you going Carson Beck, but I do believe that Ty Simpson clearly has the higher ceiling. And then in tier 3, I have Drew Aller, Taylon Green, and Garrett Nussmeier. Nussmeier was my number 6 quarterback, thought about him and Taylon Green, but ultimately I just went with the higher potential player and went with the freak athlete. Sue me if you want. But as always, guys, these are just my thoughts. Be sure to let me know yours in the comment section down below. If you love the NFL and do not yet subscribe to this YouTube channel, make sure you hit that button. I will catch you next time. Peace.